And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens. My co-host is Annalisa Haynes.
Hi, everyone.
We are going to be talking with Andy Cougill. Welcome.
Hi there. Thank you.
The Booth Library here, and Ramin Carbacion from WEIU TV.
Good afternoon.
Because you guys have been wrapping up the big To the Moon and Back on the Shoulders of Giants. And I'm just, instead of me telling them what it is, why don't you tell the folks what's going on, and we'll get into some details about this really neat program and documentary.
Oh, you bet. You bet. Yeah, this entire project rolled out of Booth Library's desire to put together a spring exhibit for the 50th anniversary of the Lunar Landing, July 20, 1969. And you know, the initial idea was to simply put together one of our, if I must say, outstanding exhibits that we do in the library with a lot of different facets and features. And from this was spawned an idea to collaborate across campus and to do an oral history. And it was amazing. It was amazing what came out of this, the collaboration and cooperation that we got. We had no idea that we would potentially be doing something as in-depth and as just technically fascinating as a TV program. And what our result is an oral history of what do we have, 12 participants?
12, yes.
Yeah, 12 participants from within the community, the campus community and the broader Charleston community, and their memories of the lunar landing.
That's really neat. And Ramin, you as you edited this show, and Andy would be in there a lot. It's funny because sometimes when people are editing TV shows around here, it's they're not. Sometimes it's just they're quiet, whatever, blah 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 blah. But when you guys, when I walked by that room, it really appeared that you guys were just having an absolute blast piecing this project together.
There's a lot of stuff in this nearly 58-minute long program that you will not see that we were laughing about, but it's just some of the. When you put together a TV program, not only are you learning about the subject matter that's going to be in it, but you learn about people's personalities. And I think we definitely got people's personalities that came across. And there are some of their comments, not because they said a bad word or anything, but there's some really funny comments that didn't make the cut of the program that we still laugh on forever. Whether it be the Fredisms or the Fred pauses, as we call it, Fred Peralta from WEIU, or how fast, or the big words that Dr. Worley or Dr. Patterson used. I mean, these are just things that you will see within the program that we laughed over and over as we were putting together this, this great masterpiece, as we call it.
And the exhibit will actually open on January 17th, which is this week, at the Booth Library, and it will go up until... For is it 6 weeks, is what you said, or
basically the end of the semester.
End of the semester, okay.
Yeah, run it through the end of May so that folks can get in, not only our own campus community, but the broader community as well.
And so if people can go on January 17th, they would head to the library and look at it. Tell them where they should go, and then we'll go into what they can expect as well.
Well, the majority of the exhibit's going to be featured in the north end of the library, so coming on off the quad in the foyer there. And it's largely composed of a lot of different panels, history, and information about not only the lunar landing, but more broadly what the Apollo missions were, not just Apollo 11. And then we're also going to be looking at some local EIU connections to space, as well as the future and where things stand right now. There's a lot of fascinating things going on with space exploration, where we stand right now, and the future is extremely bright. So it's a perfect time for us to be celebrating this.
Okay. And then on January 24th, the exhibit will be open for a week. You'll have your your opening reception. What's going to happen that day at the library?
Absolutely. That is going to be the debut of To the Moon and Back, the program that we're discussing today. We're very excited to unveil that. We've sent out some special invitations to not only our guest speakers, but some other folks around the community who we think will be heavily invested in this. And of course, it's open to the public too. So not only will you get to speak directly with the folks who participated in the program, you'll get to view this, and we welcome everybody to come and see it. I'm very proud of what the library, WEIU, and the history department have put together.
So why this oral history of something that happened 50 years ago? And it's not just something. I mean, this was obviously huge for American history, but why make the decision to talk to people who lived it?
Absolutely. That, and I have to throw out some credit here really quick. To me, my background is in history. I received 2 degrees from EIU and both coming from the history department. So I was able to kind of go back and speak with some of my faculty members. I recognize that this was there are very few events in history that make an impact and last a lifetime. And one of these is the Lunar Landing for a generation. Unfortunately, I missed it. I'm far too young. But for those about 60 and older, they remember this. They know where it was. And so when I brought this idea to the history department and said, hey, I'd like to do this, I said, oh, yeah, absolutely. This is an outstanding idea. And so, it snowballed from there, from just a simple oral history project, which usually is collected on paper, or audio, to full-blown video and the incorporation of professional video
Right.
WEIU. So, this whole concept was, from the very beginning, to us, kind of a home run, because everyone can tell us and remember some aspect of the lunar landing, maybe their own feelings or the impressions of their friends and family, where they were, who they were with, and what it meant, how it changed the world. So it was an exciting project.
Ramin, when you think about the 12 people that you interviewed for the show, give us a couple of just what I guess. We don't want to give away the documentary or the TV program, but give us a couple of just things that you think people are really going to be fascinated with when they get to see the final product.
I kind of already name dropped some people, and I'll bundle a couple of them together. We have a couple of professors from the Department of History, Dr. Edmund Worley and Dr. Lee Patterson. They were interviewed on separate days. Just amazing speakers, great words they used. Can I go ahead and say our favorite word, quotidians? Quotidians. I had never heard of what that word was. But anyway, there are some words in this program that it's like, what is that word? So I think...
Well, you can't just leave us hanging. What does it mean?
Well, is it like an everyday thing? What
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
As we both panic, what does it mean?
It's an everyday thing.
You'll see WEIU's Fred Peralta, who, in our opinion, not to pat Fred on the back, Fred did a phenomenal job, and some of his memories of growing up in the south side of Chicago, he talks about that, and he even had a few pictures of the house he grew up in, and so we have so many wonderful people here. One of my former speech professors, Michael Cron, Mike was a speech communication professor here, and he worked at EIU basketball and sporting events, and Michael is still so well spoken after all these years. So just a great cast of characters, and those 2 Nancy ladies at Heritage Woods, they were great personalities, and where they were in life, whether they were raising their newborn baby or with their 3 children around them, you're just going to learn about where these people were, how they were impacted, and really all these people, for the most part, were very interested in the space program at the time.
Okay. And then the show will then debut on TV for those folks who can't make it out to the library and see it for this semester. It'll debut February 5th at 8 o'clock on WEIU television, and there'll be repeats as well on some of our other platforms, but so you can always check it out there. So we're looking forward to that debut in February. And I know that Ramin and Andy, and then also Jonathan Williams, who we were hoping we were going to be here today, was instrumental in kind of putting some of this idea together. But the one thing I'm most excited about from WEIU standpoint is the fact that it was a collaboration. You always heard sometimes about Eastern, programs and departments don't work together. But when you talk about the history department, WEIU, and our friends at the library all putting this together, that's what I think is really neat. And so we don't really have to talk about it and toot our own horns, but just when people think that what you can do when you collaborate with your friends on campus, amazing things can happen. And I think it's kudos to you guys for getting it done. I think it's awesome.
If I can just say 30 seconds about that. I mean, we all do a lot of individual projects in our respective areas, and I know from WEIU standpoint, we've been doing a lot of really cool collaborations in the last 18 months or so, and you'll see that in the beginning and throughout this program that this is an EIU project. This is a collaboration of 3 different entities, and it's a wonderful thing. So, if you make it to the premiere or you see it on TV or on online, you're going to see that this is 100% EIU product.
And then ironically, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, you're fine. I was just saying.
And ironically, this week or last week, China landed on the other side of the moon, which which only kind of leads to the whole people talking about the landing on the moon and the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11. So your thoughts when you said that, you were like, yes, more publicity?
Oh yeah. Well, and it speaks to the subject at hand as well. And you're absolutely correct in the collaboration that's going on. It's an exciting time to be on this campus. Just the enthusiasm that every partner brought to this project was just outstanding. A complementary piece, and to speak further on these collaborations, another piece of the exhibits that we host is our events, are the events that we attach with them. And, already we're still building this calendar, and it'll be available, be up on the library website and accessible. But we have, we're talking about space. We have 2 programs with the music department to collaborate on space. It's incredible. The math department, computer science, technology, all these different departments have jumped in and said, hey, yeah, we'd like to participate. We see an opportunity here. And that's one of the driving factors behind Booth Library exhibits, is to showcase our local talents and the expertise of our faculty members and our student and community. So what we're getting here, I think, is kind of the real beginnings of just wonderful collaboration all across this campus to pull these kind of gold stars out of our hat and be able to display them to the community. So we're just we're over the moon, so to speak, about the results here.
When you talk about the exhibits and then some of the activities that you do along with the exhibit itself, I heard from the article that I read in the Daily Eastern News that there might be some rocket making. Right? Okay,
Yes,
I think that's fantastic. I feel like a kid again. But how does this help the student community on campus, kind of alert them to what's going on in Booth?
That's a great question. I think it's, the driving force behind the exhibit and the special for myself is to showcase how relevant this history and this, this future in space exploration, how relevant it is to every department, every major, every topic. There's an opportunity here for any student on campus to identify a slice of this and engage. I'm working with the business department, as a matter of fact, to hopefully develop kind of a business startup workshop around commercial spaceflight. And that kind of stems out of the idea of SpaceX and Blue Origin and Boeing and all these other commercial entities entering spaceflight. Now, it's not just NASA anymore. So what opportunities exist for our business students to engage in, space exploration?
I had no idea. That's awesome.
Elon Musk or whatever. So, yeah.
Yep.
Do you think that we'll ever go back to the moon? Is there any thoughts of that at NASA, or any of that as you did your research for the show?
That is part of the broader plan. It's kind of fun when you look at what comes out of NASA and other entities when it comes to the future, because it in lots of ways it reads like a sci-fi novel, and you think, oh gosh, they can't do that. But hey, 50 years ago, we landed a man on the moon. So you start to realize and understand that these aren't such far-fetched ideas. And one of those ideas is that the moon, or basically a space station, kind of like the International Space Station orbits the Earth, will be establishing a station that orbits the moon, and that'll become the extended launch platform then to eventually journey to Mars. So, what seems like maybe a foreign or impossible project to us now is becoming a reality. And we're going to be featuring some of the different systems that NASA and their partners are developing right now to get us there. One particular guest speaker that we have coming in is Ann Over from the Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio. And she has been the deputy manager on many projects, but particularly right now, she is the deputy manager for what they call it's the European Space Agency's service module of the Space Launch System. So a lot of big words there that basically boil down to, this is the deep space rocket. This is the one that's going to carry us beyond Earth's orbit and get us away from our own planet, closer to the moon, or to the moon. And she's going to be coming in and speaking towards not only where we stand now, but what the future looks like. So again, speaking to opportunities for students here on campus, this is a prime opportunity to speak to an engineer who has 35 years of experience working for NASA, is currently working on some of these incredible programs that are getting us away from Earth's orbit and maybe see what opportunities lie for current students.
I feel like I'm living Star Wars. I love sci-fi.
Well,
Just throwing that out there.
Isn't that
So-
what is the one that's way out there right now? They just sent the pictures back too. So there's a lot of space news going on.
Oh,
right now.
well, that's just it. It's absolutely incredible. Not only do you look at what's been happening commercially, SpaceX in the last year has figured out how to land a rocket after using the booster. It's incredible. If you haven't seen that yet, jump online, look at some of these. It's incredible. In the past, these things burn out, they land in the ocean, and we go fish them out. Then you have to rebuild them. SpaceX is landing these things. So that's incredible. But yeah, you look at the unmanned spaceflight that's going on right now, and the probes that we have sent out across the universe, and it's absolutely incredible. New Horizons is gaining great grounds. Juno and its work on Saturn and Jupiter, and the Parker Solar Probe. This thing's going into the sun eventually, and it's sending back all sorts of amazing information about the sun. But you can even flip that book back roughly 40 years ago now, when we launched the Voyager probes. 40 years ago, these are the two probes that are now out past Pluto. They're in what we call interstellar space. They've left our solar system, and these probes are still sending us information back. They've started a new journey and a new project, and these things are still producing information for us. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
Can you imagine having cell phone reception?
So, kind of going back to the students, two questions that stem from this. Is there opportunities for students on campus to have a future in areas like this? I know and the second question then, what are some of the misconceptions that students have about space that kind of make them not understand what exactly is going on or not want to be interested in it?
Well, that's a good question. Honestly, I think understanding and learning what the access points to this are. For me, I'm a humanities guy. I'm not a science guy. So my background with NASA would be very short-lived. But what's amazing to me is the opportunities that do lie out there, and it's communicating to students how they can engage and how they can become part of this. There's so many opportunities right now with the technical aspects and development of what we've been doing over the last couple decades. It's mind-boggling. So whether you're in technology, we've got an awesome robotics team. We've got, the computer science and math department. These people, the amount of programming that's going into, all these projects is unprecedented. It's amazing. And as a matter of fact, for a student who might be unsure about that and really questioning, well, how on earth could I do this? I have to share the story, and this is going to be part of our exhibit, although I've just discovered her. And I'm still building this story. But it's amazing. In 1953, a woman by the name of Betty Jo Moore graduated from EIU. And she had a bachelor's degree in chemistry with a minor in math. And she went to work for, NASA, but it was called NACA at the time. And she was there as a mathematician. In the 50s, from EIU, no advanced degree, she graduated from here and started working for NASA. And you go beyond that. In 1962, I was browsing the alumni news updates, and there was this brief little statement in there that said, Betty Jo Moore, class of 53, is now the head of the IBM 7090 computer system at Lewis Research Center, which is now Glenn. So if you're familiar with the Hidden Figures story.
Yes.
The movie,
So Katherine Johnson, in that, she was a mathematician and was being challenged by these computers, right? The computer that she was challenged by in the early 60s was the IBM 7090. And what she did was embrace it, learn all about it, and became a lead programmer on it. We have an EIU alum who was the director of the IBM 79 computing system at one of NASA's research centers at the same time.
That's
EIU
incredible.
Absolutely, right?
So, and that kind of plays
We're
into,
everywhere.
well, it plays into the whole hidden gem, use a hidden gem. That's fascinating.
Right.
Oh, man, it must be fun being a historian.
Yeah, time to change a major.
Yeah, I know, right?
And one of the things I remember about history and the lunar landing was that the 60s were obviously a tumultuous time with, Vietnam and the assassinations and everything. But when this came around at the end of the decade, that summer of the last year of '69. It kind of put a little bit of a cherry on top of a really bad decade. Did you find some of that out in your research?
That's actually after the initial part of the To the Moon and Back program is where were we going to start this program? Because it covers so many areas. I think probably between 8 and 10 categories. We broke this program up into a nearly 1-hour program, and it really started about where we were as a society and also politics. And so the timing was, I guess, I don't know if the word perfect or is the right word to use, but you hear it from a lot of people how this was the kind of good news we needed to see and hear because there was a lot going on.
Right.
During your research and during putting together this documentary and so far what you've done with the exhibit, I go Ramin and then Andy. What was the best part?
I mean, I have embraced. I've been at WEIU TV for 11 years, and I didn't know how to produce or make anything really cool like this. 11 years ago. I'm embracing the storytellers and what you get to hear from them and their attitudes and everything, and I'm just blown away by what I learned and of not only some people that I know in this program personally, but the people that I didn't. I learned so much, and I mean, just fascinating stuff.
Best part of the process, Andy?
The talent that's here on campus. I'm just beside myself. To be quite frank, I was terrified when I approached the history department and said, "Hey, I want to do an oral history program." They said, "Sure, here's a graduate assistant." And I said, "Oh, hold on, things just got real." But I ended up working with a student, Jonathan, who's unfortunately not here today.
And we don't know where he's at. He's supposed to be here.
We're going to give him some grief later.
Yes.
But when he arrived, I realized, again, the quality of our students and the interest and the engagement that we had out of Jonathan was outstanding. And then, as that snowballed and this idea of the Oral History Project grew, and everyone here at WEIU that I then spoke with and worked with, I was learning amazing things. I have never even begun to do anything. Ramin says he hasn't done anything like this. I have never even thought about doing anything like this. So to witness the talent and the abilities, the technical abilities, then also as Ramin mentioned earlier, our faculty members who participated and lended some authority to the narrative, it's amazing. And so between the talent and the expertise and the attitude of everyone to build something, and the teamwork that we got out of this was incredible.
No, I have to ask, was there a tough part to this, either of you? I mean, is there one part you realize, oh, we don't know what we're going to do?
Well, we knew we taped a lot because we taped at 3 different locations over a couple weeks span. 12 people are in the program, but 11 interviews, so we did have a couple. And I think we ended up with like 2 hours of raw interview video. So we knew we were going to scale this back, obviously, and it's cutting it down because I think we got to about an hour and 15 minutes. Well, that's kind of an oddball time. And so, yeah, trimming away and maybe cutting a little bit here, a little bit there. And maybe the order, where do we start? How do we finish? You're going to hear so many different categories. I mentioned society, politics, NASA products. You'll learn a little bit about what people thought about Tang. That's one of the more comical parts. So.
Yeah. For me, my fear going into it and during the process, and those fears were put to rest pretty quick. My fear was we as the editors and leaders of the project, and we're the ones making the decisions on what we're going to cut. My worry was that we somehow unintentionally changed the narrative that we've received. And what I learned is between the three of us, everyone was very invested and interested in making sure we do not alter what we're being presented with.
And you were also worried whether or not anybody would step up to be interviewed, if you recall.
Yes.
With the way at the beginning of the project, you think anybody would want to do this? And we just kind of collectively said, there's only one way to find out. You have to ask. Mm-hmm. And so you guys did a great job. So
welcome to being a journalist for a temporary amount of time.
When you think about this project now, we have a few minutes left before we get into some rapid fire questions. Is it something that where does it go from here? I mean, and it's going to debut, it's going to air, but how do we keep this space thing alive for the campus as we move on?
Well, just from a standpoint of what this program provides, and then I'll let the other two people here next to me, it's just a great collection of history. And these people ranged from, I wrote it down here, we had people that were less than a year old to their mid-30s when the first person landed on the moon. The perspectives and And these people knew that what they were talking about. I mean, they lived it, and they remember the things around it, whether it be Walter Cronkite-isms and stuff like that. You're going to learn so much, and I think there's an expression to wherever you're going, you got to know where you came from. And so this program will help you learn a little bit about why space is where it is now.
Good answer, me.
Yeah.
Andy, you top that?
Yeah. So yeah. We'll see.
Sorry. We'll see.
There's two things here that immediately come to mind. And one, of course, is this is the beginning of our semester-long celebration, and these other events are going to kind of dovetail with this narrative, and we're gonna have a lot of opportunities to kind of maintain and continue this interest in space exploration. We're always looking to partner with faculty members across campus to maybe deliver more of this information in different ways. So we have the exhibit and the supporting events to kind of push us along after this debut. But the program itself, what I want to see come out of this is we have 12. We have 12 narratives that are incredible, just fascinating. And I think all three of us ended up being just blown away by what we heard and knowing this history. And frankly, it's like talking to your grandparents and then all of a sudden realizing, wow, these people led interesting lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have 12, but what about the hundreds, thousands, millions others that are out there? So my hope and my desire is that this program can be used as a tool by other institutions, retirement communities, you name it, local history societies. Maybe they could use it as a launching point for their own oral history program. And this is a great opportunity for organizations to reach out to their communities and to listen to stories, and pretty incredible ones.
It is. It's a great answer, too. Both of you have really great. Any last questions for me?
Document. You have to find those stories.
There you
I'm
go.
definitely
Minute and a half
for
left,
that.
some rapid-fire questions, all right? Favorite space movie? Or it could be sci-fi, or me?
I'm going to go with one that I keep on watching because I'm a big Tom Hanks fan. I love Apollo 13.
Step back in time a little bit to the right stuff.
Ooh.
No, Star Wars. Star Wars is where it's at.
Well, that's the Homer answer, so I went with something
going
different.
I am a huge fan.
I'm going with Ramin on that one. So, favorite TV show that's space or sci-fi related?
Oh, I'm going to have to think about
There's
that
only
one.
one answer here.
Sci-fi is not my area, so I'll come back to me if you need to.
Oh, man. Oh, that's
It's got to be
I got
original
one.
Star Trek, folks.
Well,
No,
I-
Farscape.
Oh, no.
Farscape.
I'll agree with you. I mean, Star Trek is kind of the wheelhouse. It's the big one.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to think. Oh, we got to do it. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm wearing red because I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, so go Chiefs.
It better be the Chiefs. Or the
I'm
Saints.
actually going for the Saints. Although I want
fine.
the Chiefs to beat the Patriots.
Saints, Sean
so-
Payton, EIU. There you go.
Anybody
Yeah.
but
There you go.
the Patriots, I think, is a safe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you
Thank
two.
you.
It opens up January 17th at Booth Library on the Shoulders of Giants, The Moon and Beyond. And then on February 5th, you can see it at 8 o'clock on WEIU TV. Ramin and Jonathan, and of course Andy, who really spearheaded this for us. Congratulations, and we look forward to it all
Thank you.
semester long.
Thank you.
Alicia?
Thanks, everyone.
Hit Big 78.9.
WEIU.
And of course, we're going to play a little Space Oddity by David Bowie when we get out of here. So, WEIU out.